Welcome to the Emerging Professional Series at the Coffee Conversation Show, powered by the Emerging India Forum TIF and a tech partner, Prime Infotech Solution. Theme is AI mentorship and digital growth with Abhilekh Verma, a name that resonates across AI innovation and global mentorship. From mentoring founders at INSEAD and Salesforce to judging hackathons with NASA and the Global Startup Awards, Abhilekh has spent the last decade inspiring professionals across continents. A 2x Microsoft MVP in AI, Copilot Innovation Award winner, and a top global 3% synchronized speaker. His journey reflects a rare balance of service, strategy, and sustainability. He's presently director at Abhilekh Verma Consultancy OPC Private Limited. Now, he's entering a new chapter, building paid impact with purpose, when knowledge sharing meets long term growth. Let's dive into his story, lessons, and vision for the future. And we also come to know Abhilekh as a person. So, welcome, Abhilekh, to today's coffee conversation.
Thank you, Amir. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So let me explain you. There will be three rounds: professional, personal, and a surprise rapid fire round, where you will be in the hot seat like Coffee with Karan and years inspiring AI at workforce, which will be autographed and sent to you. So let's begin
Perfect.
the first round. Friend of mine, Amir Virani, host at Coffee and legal tech evangelist at Prime Infotech Solution, author of 15 books. So my first question, Abhilekh, how has the journey shaped up and what were the key defining moments you had?
So for me, I think my journey started, I was more into non-tech. So I wanted to get into tech, coming from a commerce background. So of course, there were a lot of challenging opportunities across different technological innovation and mentorship roles where I started, working, especially leadership roles as well. Of course, one of the important aspects was becoming Microsoft MVP in AI and earning the 2x title. Also getting the Copilot Innovation Award, which actually recognized my significant contributions to advancing the field of AI. So I was able to guide founders, lead teams in multinational organizations, and then of course come up with something called as paid impact with purpose. So those have actually helped me to get a lot of responsibility and then help others fulfill their ambitions so that they can merge business success with broader social contributions.
Oh, beautiful. So let's build up a conversation. From hackathons to boardrooms, you've seen innovation at every scale. Where do you think startups most commonly fail, and how do you guide them go past it?
I think one of the key strategies, what I've seen most startups fail is, of course, finding their product market fit. I think they sometimes make a guess and they don't get a proper mentorship. That's where one of the areas I help them with. Another important thing is also, not finding the right set of, let's say, investors as early as possible in their career is important. So I think that is something I have realized a lot of startup founders fail. So those are two areas where I believe they need proper mentorship and guidance, as well as they need to probably try and experiment, do pivot, which I think is super important right now.
Wow. So, Abhilek, you have mentored founders, students, professionals across more than 10 countries. What's
Mhm.
the most striking difference you notice in how different cultures approach innovation?
I think so. Again, like I have traveled a lot of maybe more than a dozen countries now. So what I have observed is, of course, different cultural contracts are there in innovation, right? So let's just say if I talk about Western context, so there is a decisive bias towards failing fast and iterating quickly. Versus if I try to compare Asian and Middle Eastern cultures, so there's more risk averse, consensus driven approach where they want greater emphasis on validation and social acceptance. So the whole idea is to adapt to mentoring styles to this context and to ensure that there is faster innovation across the borders. So depending upon whichever landscape I am in or whichever culture I am getting engrossed with, I try to customize and make sure that whether it is a founder, student, or professionals, they get the right set of mentorship.
Wow. So, Abhilek, you often speak about paid impact with purpose.
Mhm.
What sparked this shift in your professional journey and how do you define it?
So I think one of the key things is, of course, you do a lot of community work, but at the end of the day, you need to run a startup. So how do you make an long-lasting impact? That really matters. So of course, doing workshops really adds a lot of value. But at the same time, are you adding enough value to those founders' life or not? So whether they are also growing with you, whether they are also able to generate some decent income or not. Those are the things when I say paid impact, because again, I'm looking for a long-term, not a short-term growth with them and with their career. So when I say those words, I mean they're also self-independent. They're also able to mentor others, also create a chain where they can also support other inclusive founders. So those are the concepts which I try to embed into all those founders, and I'm very happy. Like I've seen a lot of founders, not just in India, but also in Africa and other places, also really coming out of their comfort zone and able to do things globally. I've actually had seen great speakers coming in Dubai from Africa. I've also seen some great speakers getting the golden visa with Dubai government. So of course, that is what I want to create that kind of aspect into each founder's mindset.
Beautiful. So, I believe public speaking has been a cornerstone for your career. How do you balance being both a thought leader and a relatable communicator?
So I think from my perspective, of course, communication is one aspect where you really need to be a community enabler. You're trying to connect different ecosystem and different parties together. But when it comes to being a leader, or maybe when you're actually on the stage where a lot of people aspire to become you, you also need to be understanding their mindset, because of course everyone don't get that opportunity so quick. Of course, a lot of people are introverts, and sometimes they feel, in their mindset they have that challenge, like what if I also can get on the stage and deliver those keynotes. So I help others to understand that mindset as well, make them feel comfortable, especially when they are talking to me, whether it is delivering a keynote or doing a paper presentation in Beijing to 12,000 audience, to even doing a small meetup in Hyderabad to 15 to 20 founders. I have observed a different paradigm shift with the way how you talk, how you try to share your expertise. But at the end of the day, it's about helping and collaboration. Those are two important aspects which I always look for.
Wow. So, I believe many professionals want to break into global platforms like Microsoft events, INSEAD programs. What's
Mhm.
your advice to them?
I think fail fast, and that's the only advice I have. So try to do as much pivot as possible in your career, because I've seen the ones who qualify for the best programs in the world, like INSEAD. We had, I think, around 500 plus founders in this cohort, and the ones who have actually qualified, they have failed several times. So of course, be ready to take as much risk as possible. Of course, calculative, but at the end of the day, the more you have those exposure, the more travel you do. I think traveling also helps. So of course, if you participate in a lot of cohorts, a lot of accelerator programs, that also adds value. So if you can do that, that would help you to qualify to these programs as well. Of course, for me also, being as a mentor, to get into this program would mean I would have to fail in multiple programs before becoming a mentor here, or probably getting a chance to mentor some great founders there.
Wow. So, let's build up conversation about on mentorship. You have
Mhm.
worked with early stage entrepreneurs as well as established organizations. How does your mentorship style shift depending on the audience?
So I think, yeah, as I mentioned, like so when I work with the developers who are pure technical, okay, so they are purely knowing coding and they know everything. Versus when I work with someone like me who comes from a commerce background, they are sometimes clueless in terms of which technical tool should I use, which app should I use, or let's just say which solution should I use in my startup in AI, right? So I cater it based upon the audience size, based upon their attributes, and based upon their background. So whenever I start a lecture, whenever I do a keynote, or whenever I try to engage someone, I first ask them their background. I try to segregate the audience in such a way where I know, okay, let's just say if my audience is 100, so how much is tech, how much is non-tech, and how much is founder, how much is, let's just say, a student. So I define that metrics. It becomes easy for me to then talk to them on that level and then form a team. So I've done a lot of hackathons I have done a lot of ideathons where I have made sure that we can just combine different kind of people, because everyone has some or the other positive aspect, but it's just that it will only open up when you're in a team. And when you're in a team, you get to learn your failures, you get to learn your areas where you can improve. So I believe we need to mix and match. So those are the some of the approaches which I believe which helps in innovation and giving them the best in the limited time.
Beautiful. Okay. Mentoring at places like INSEAD, Salesforce, Hackathon with Hack with India.
Mhm.
What's one mentorship experience that has stayed with you?
I think one of the key aspect which still remains with me while mentoring at multiple places like this is the eagerness and the curiosity which a founder has to know about what's happening in different part of the world, right? That really remains with me because they may not have got access, they may have not traveled to the country. So I can share an instance when founder wanted to know what's happening in Tokyo, for example, right? How it is different in terms of hospitality when people talk about then compared with other countries, right? So I could share, like I was sometimes there were times when I wanted to go to some location, I was little clueless, maps was not working fine, but there was always a person, there's always a person who is able to guide me without even me telling them like I'm clueless and things. So that's the level of hospitality I share with others, and that's what I believe everyone should also do regardless of what your culture and things are. And that's what I learned while being in Tokyo or delivering lectures at Microsoft. So I always tell people to learn hospitality from different part of the world, and help each other grow regardless of what's the intent behind it and stuff like that.
Wow, beautiful. It's like the paid forward yeah, movement concept.
Yeah, right.
Beautiful. Okay. That was a beautiful movie, Paid Forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So now comes a segment on AI. As a 2x Microsoft MVP and Copilot Innovation Award winner, how do you personally keep pace with the rapid evolution of AI?
I think learning a lot of tools is super important, regardless of, let's just say, I'm an MVP in AI with Microsoft. I also traveled to Alibaba to learn about Quen tokens, to learn about DeepSeek as well. So keeping myself outspace is also about traveling, going to different countries, learning different new tools, new ecosystem as well, and also trying to compare it with different tools. So let's just say I go to Perplexity and I want to learn how it is different in terms of research when I compare with ChatGPT. So yeah, I mean, learning all those tools is super important for me, and getting a premium license is also critical, because when you get a enterprise license, you can really compare it to the best. So I have all those
Hmm.
licenses, and I generally, try to compare with all those during my training. So let's just say if I am delivering a workshop in Dubai and I want to compare which tool is best for, let's say, a finance team or let's say a sales team. So I can then compare and I can ask them, get the feedback and see which one is working for them, which one is not that worth their time, right? So all those kind of comparisons, I love to do it during my workshops globally. At the same time, I try to upskill through Coursera. So I'm also one of, like a person on Coursera where I do product testing as well as, course testing and stuff like that. So as a product test user, I try to learn different courses through Coursera. That helps me a lot to be a little ahead in AI.
Wow. So now on, there is AI will replace humans, but there is another viewpoint. AI plus HI, artificial intelligence plus human intelligence, will take you places. So, what are your views on this?
Yeah, absolutely. You can see me as an example. So if I wouldn't have learned AI with being a non-techie guy, I wouldn't have traveled places. Of course, a lot of fear is still there. A lot of people are losing jobs, and they have this thing like, okay, I mean, like, AI is taking my job. But again, if you are really learning AI, if you're really mastering those tools, your job is still safe. Think about it. I mean, you could do a consulting work sitting at your home. Let's say I'm in Hyderabad, I can actually take up a project which is happening in US right away without me traveling there, because this is what AI can help me and transition my life into it. So AI is also a kind of an advantageous tool which I believe everyone should start using. Of course, you need to find the right set of mentor. That is one of the key challenges everyone faces. But I'm sure if you go to multiple events, multiple places, and multiple podcast shows, like Coffee with Conversation. So I think there you can probably, get some great set of guidance. You can get great set of, people coming on the shows, and then I'm sure you can figure out how to find a mentor.
Beautiful. So my next question, you have recently been part of Loneliness Global Action. How do you see technology, especially AI, shaping solutions for human connection?
Yeah, I mean, humans are more open to AI than, let's just say, to their friends and family. Let's just talk about ChatGPT, for instance. So, a lot of youngsters, they go to ChatGPT to tell their problems rather than discussing with their siblings or parents or even their close friends, right? So, AI is able to help them in loneliness. Of course, they are able to give them some solutions whenever they feel, they are literally, struggling with something or anything, and they just go and just, put the prompt and they get the solution. So, of course, AI is changing their lifestyle, but I always recommend you have to be very careful while using AI. You need to know responsible AI. So not give your personal information, because again AI is also harmful. So you need to make sure you give only limited information which it asks, not every information, because let's just say your data gets public, right? And that's the bigger problem. So make sure you only give the information which is more relevant to your lifestyle. But of course, it could be a companion, as I said. So in times when you are feeling down or when you feel like, okay, you want to give up, you go to AI and AI can give you a suggestion. Look, you should do this, or you should, come up with this kind of a new approach, right? So those are the things I recommend to youngsters as well as to the people whom I mentor, because I want to make sure that, they are very safe and they're also able to get the best out of the AI.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah.
So, so Abhilekh, whom do you follow or inspires you from the world of AI?
I think I have a lot of people who inspire me, but of course, I guess if you talk about celebrities and also, of course, I've seen Satya Nadella, Bill Gates, really inspiring with, a great novel solution. Similarly, you have, the founder of Apple, right? So how innovative a product could be, and you can see like everyone's buying iPhones every year, right? So I always believe the leaders who are innovative, who have great product, who have the knack for knowledge to learn and to implement and to compete with their competitors will grow back ahead. So I always want to follow those leaders who are really building next level solutions. Of course, I also love Gamma CEO's product, which is Gamma app, right? So I think it does help me in a lot of PowerPoint generations, specifically using a single prompt. So those are some of the leaders I follow, but of course, there's an ocean of people to follow and learn from.
So now agentic AI are companies are using for automating tasks. What is your view, Kibai? Should they fully go for full automation or should have humans with agentic AI?
So I think logically speaking, there's no company who has 100% automation with agentic AI. Like I work as a mentor with Salesforce. So when we create different agentic AI, like specifically, let's say, think about a use case like retail. Okay. So let's just say some customer has to return a dress. So you create an agent which will answer all your queries in terms of how to get a refund or how to get your dress back. Let's say it's Zara. Okay. So Zara has to return your product. But of course, there has to be a human intervention in place, because let's just say the AI will do the processing, will do the refund and all, but then there has to be a manager who has to approve all those approvals. He has to give an assurance like, okay, this is the exact amount which has to be refunded, and this is the timeline when the dress will be returned. This will be captured in our SCM and stuff like that. So of course, there is a human intervention needed. There cannot be 100% automation. But yeah, there are companies trying to get into that. They're trying to talk about AGI, and they are trying to get into 100% full automation. I always dream if that is possible, but believe me, since I have worked in IoT and smart city, I have always seen there's always a human intervention needed. Without that, it's impossible to solve a problem, or do automation in terms of agentic AI.
Beautiful said. Okay. So my last two questions. What does the future of work look like through your lens, especially for young professionals just stepping into AI-driven industries?
I think for the young professionals who are really clueless sometimes and they feel like, what to do with AI, the future looks good because of course there are more opportunities than the past. If I talk about my MBA when I was doing, I think in 12-14, that time we had very limited opportunity. We just had marketing, finance, sales, operations to select. Now you have a lot of opportunities. If you are really passionate about a hobby, let's just say you're a YouTuber or a podcaster, you can start a business out of it. You're a youngster and who aspires to, run your own community, you can build it on your own with the help of tools like Lovable. You don't need to be a coder per se. So of course, the future of work really looks good. You can really do a lot of things. You can automate a lot of things with the help of AI, and you can take it as a full-time career as well. Versus what I see like 10 years before it was not possible. So that's a good thing I see on a positive side. Of course, on the negative side, you need to be careful of not giving all information to the AI. So that you need to be careful. And of course, upskilling is the most important thing. The more you upskill, the more you do community work, the more you help others. That adds a lot of value to your overall profile, and I'm sure that will help you to sustain longer than, let's just say, looking for a short-term benefit.
Wow. So let's go to the next one and understand Abhilekh as a person. Tell us about your family and your formative years.
So I think from my family perspective, I mean, if I ask like everyone in my family, parents and everyone, they are all into a single job, right? So they started with one company and ended the like entire journey specifically with one company. So they don't take risk when it comes to my family, any of my siblings or things like that. But for me, I am pretty unique. I've had maybe 4 to 5 companies change in last decade before starting my company. I'm completing 2 years next month. So I believe now the paradigm shift has changed compared with, if I say, people used to say you should look for a stable job, you should look for a job where you can probably stick for 40 years or 50 years. That has now changed. Now people are
Mm.
ready to take the risk and go into entrepreneurship, and that is what I have started my journey as. And I also try to tell this to youngsters. It's okay to take risks, but of course calculative risks are super important. So that is about my family. If you ask, in terms of my primitive roots and all as well. But yeah, I mean, they're very supportive, so that does help me to upskill myself and travel the world.
Wow. So when you're not mentoring or speaking, Abhilekh, how do you usually spend your weekends?
I mean, I am a book author, so I do write books. I have written my own journey through Introvert's Hidden Meaning on Amazon. But other than that, of course, I like reading books. I love to play badminton. I also try to, go to places where I can try new food. I, also run a community called Hyderabad Foodies. So I always want to taste new cuisines, new food, new kind of places I can go and I can travel. Those are the things which are very important for me. And I always believe we should always spend time with family, and also try to help others grow as well.
Wow. So, which book or movie has it lasting impact on you?
I think if I say the lasting impact any of those mentorship sessions would have is like somebody finding their why. Okay, so let's just say if I have mentored some founder, let's say in a location like Japan or China, and they said, "Look, I have found my why." That really had an impact, because I believe like they were trying to figure out some things, and because of my mentorship, they were able to find that exact kind of a why. That had an impact. Other than that, of course, there are also places where I go and somebody recognizes me. That is a big thing for me. So if let's just say I travel to X country and then they are like, okay, I already met you at Y country, that really gives me a sense of accomplishment. So those are two things I generally feel happy, and I can say like those are something which has a long-term memory impact on me as well, and it is a last it's a big thing for me, in terms of meeting people.
So, if your friends had to describe you in 3 words, what would they say?
I think in few words or maybe a line would be more like sustainable AI mentor, or let's say a corporate enabler. These are the two words which people used to tell me. Other than that, of course, I also get sometimes compliments about being me as a good networker. So those are some keywords which I can say like a lot of folks when they meet me they tell. But other than that, I think they also suggest me to improve my communication skills, and they give me a lot of things to go and see and search. So that also are some keywords I can say, like, in terms of upskilling. So upskilling is one of the words which I always get as a compliment, and they give me some tips always, whenever I travel any part of the world.
Wow. So as you have traveled, stayed in different parts of the world, which
Mhm.
city feels like home to you and why?
I think Hyderabad any day. So of course, that's the reason I'm in Hyderabad since like over a decade. So Hyderabad is one of the favorite city. The biryanis and things like that is always the favorite. But if I say international, if you want to ask me a city which has really changed my life is Shanghai. I really loved the landscape, the beautiful city, and the tower, the Shanghai Tower. So of course, in terms of beautiful and in terms of down to earth people, Shanghai is my favorite. Other than that, of course, Hyderabad any day.
Wow. So let's make you a tour guide as you're passionate about Hyderabad and I am too because uh,
Hmm.
my roots are in Hyderabad and Warangal. So we'll discuss
Great.
later. What places to visit and food to have in Hyderabad?
I think, of course, Nilofar's chai is my favorite, right? So, of course, for coffee is good. You can always go to Charminar, and you can always go and get that Osmania biscuit as well. Karachi Bakery any day, right? So, in fact, Karachi Bakery was my customer. We did IoT for them. So I used to visit a lot Karachi Bakery. That was fun. Other than that, of course, if you see the number of restaurants, every day there's more, but since I do more vegetarian, so I think I like Santosh Dhaba. That has a good food quality and in terms of cuisine. So these are my favorites. Of course, there's a lot. I can give you a big list on that.
And places to visit.
Places to visit, of course, you have the beautiful Ramoji Film City. That is my favorite.
Mhm.
So that is one. Another could be you could also go to Shilpkala Vedika. It has some great heritage here in high tech city. And other than that, of course, some good restaurants, as I mentioned, Novotel. Those are my places where I always go, for events and conferences in high techs. Those are my favorite. Other than that, of course, for heritage and all, there are a lot of forts. You can go to Hyderabad Fort. There are a lot of places here. But I don't travel generally. In terms of going to multiple places, I generally go for food. So of course, my favorite is more towards the restaurants and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll plan अपना एक coffee conversation a special episode on अपना ये places to ये food places to visit in Hyderabad.
Uh-huh.
Let's
Okay, I
see.
mean, if you want to say one location for food, I would always suggest. I think, yeah, I mean, if I try to compare Karachi, there's also Almond House. It's beautiful. So Almond House has some great restaurants. I think the main one in Kukatpally. So that is also one of the great places to do podcast. Other than that, if you want a proper ecosystem where you want to do podcast, so Draper State Up House is my favorite. But again, restaurant wise. Almond House is a very good place, for doing shooting and things like that.
Wow. Okay. So let's go memory down the lane. If you could revisit your college days for 1 week, what's the
Mhm.
first thing you would do?
I think, yeah, meet my faculties, my dean. Actually, it happened. So I was probably, getting invited to BBA Faculty of Law. So I had a keynote there, like some months ago. So it was fun to meet my dean. It was fun to meet those young students who are also like me, maybe 10 years before they were also, wanting to do something in their life. So of course, it was fun to meet them. But at the end, if I go, I always want to have the chola bhature, which is my favorite, which we used to have in the canteen. So luckily that day I was able to get that. But yeah, next time if they invite me, I would love to, check more food and also see the beautiful, like plants and beautiful places, the campus and things like that.
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So my last one is a googly one. Describe Abhilekh in one line.
That's a googly correct. So you can say a community enabler, next generation AI mentor, and innovator by heart.
Wow. So let's put you on the hot seat, the rapid fire round. AI or human intuition?
Human intuition.
Your go-to comfort food.
Once again,
Your go-to comfort food.
Biryani, anytime biryani.
Your favorite color?
Yellow.
Hackathon mentor or keynote speaker?
Hackathon mentor.
The most underrated Indian city for innovation.
Indore.
One skill every professional must master in 2026.
AI, of course.
One word that describes your leadership style.
Um, I guess collaborative.
Yeah. Your favorite restaurant in Hyderabad, one, and your favorite restaurant in those cities which you have visited internationally.
In Hyderabad, there's of course Chutneys is a good restaurant. When I say, let's say, outside of India, I would say Singapore Airport, Changi Airport. There are so many restaurants. Of course, the Changi Airport, any restaurant you name it.
Tea or coffee to recharge?
Coffee any day. So of course, coffee is my favorite. I always love coffee.
You
So
are the coffee
coffee.
show.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah. I think
So you did.
coffee any day. Yeah,
Yeah, we are South Indians, so we have to have coffee. So here's a
right.
book which will have and send to you, Abhilekh.
Yeah.
So what makes Abhilekh stand out isn't just his accolades, but his philosophy of impact that balances passion with sustainability. From inspiring young professionals in classrooms to speaker sessions to guiding global startups onto larger stages. His journey reflects resilience, reinvention, and responsibility. As the world navigates the uncertain terrain of AI and the future of work, Abhilekh reminds us that leadership isn't about being everywhere. It's about creating lasting value wherever you choose to stand. So, like that, there are 500 plus coffee speakers who have shared their professional, personal journeys, stories to inspire. Subscribe, implement in your life, and we continue conversation over a cup of coffee with another speaker. So, take care. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.